My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, or Oregairu for short, is one of my favorite rom-com anime of all time. With season 3 set for spring of 2020, I wanted to reflect back on a series I feel has so much to offer the rom-com genre. The story follows Hachiman Hikigaya, Yukino Yukinoshita, Yui Yuigahama, and their exploits in the service club. Hikigaya is the main character, and he's a lone wolf type who hates everything about high school and the people in it. Instead of trying to fit in and be a part of the crowd, he's content with fading into the background and living by his own standards, all while mocking those around him. His attitude stems from an incident in middle school where he asked a girl out and she rejected him, making him a laughingstock for a while. Hikigaya is also depicted as a less attractive character, almost shady looking, which sets him apart from the handsome and upbeat protagonists that rom-coms are usually filled with. This is actually one of my favorite things about Oregairu, and one of the reasons I connected with the show on a deeper level than most. Most people aren't this beautiful and lovable person, making those protagonists harder to relate to. Hikigaya is a bitter, lonely, and unattractive character who wants to be by himself, and I think more people can relate to that kind of person instead of the former. For full disclosure, Hikigaya gets a total glow up in season 2, and I'm not sure if that's the studio's way of showing how he's becoming more attractive to the characters around him, or if they just felt like he needed to look slightly better. Either way, his character design was changed for the better in the second season. Even though Hikigaya is a loner, his advisor/teacher, Shizuka Hiratsuka, takes an active interest in him and tries to force him to think about his future and how he can better himself in the present. In an attempt to lighten Hikigaya up and get him to become more social, she forces him into joining the service club, which at the moment only has one member. The one and only member is Yukino Yukinoshita, a beautiful but cold and blunt girl who, like Hikigaya, spends most of her time alone. Yukino doesn't have any friends because of how beautiful and talented she is, which has led almost everyone around her to grow jealous and distance themselves from her, a fact that she is acutely aware of. Listening to Hikigaya and Yukino interact is a fun experience for the viewer because while they're similar in the fact that they're both alone, their views on life could not be more different. Hikigaya believes that giving up or just accepting things is the way to deal with life's problems. He has a things aren't gonna work out, so there's no point in putting in the effort mindset. While in contrast, Yukino believes that people are unsuccessful because they do not put in the same effort. This is a constant dynamic that is shown throughout the show because both Hikigaya and Yukino are in a contest to see who can help the most people. The first person who these two are tasked with helping is Yui Yuigahama, a cheerful but ditzy popular girl who wants help to be a better baker. Immediately, you can see the two life views in full effect when Yukino and Hikigaya attempt to help her. Needless to say, Yui falls under the can't cook a damn thing no matter how hard she tries anime trope. Even after Yukino shows her step by step how to make cookies, Yui still ends up failing royally. Yukino insists that if she wants to be successful, she needs to put in effort to achieve her goal. At this time, Hikigaya steps in and explains there's no point in trying to get better at baking because any guy will appreciate the sentiment of receiving homemade cookies from her. Yui is another relatable character who is trying to figure out where she belongs in the school's ecosystem. She has no issues admitting that she is someone who reads the mood and goes along with whatever everyone else wants to do so she doesn't create waves. And I think that's something that most people going through school or even work can fully relate to. At the same time, she starts to break free from the clique she's in to be with Yukino and Hikigaya, who both say what they feel and are honest, which gives Yui the genuine relationships that she's been craving. One factor that sets this show apart for me is the way the romance is subtly built up and the way the signs are misinterpreted. While this show is called a romantic comedy, it's literally in the name. It's closer to a drama than a rom-com. Where tropes typically lead to romantic misunderstandings through funny situations, hence the name romantic comedy, Oregairu takes a more pessimistic approach to love. Hikigaya continuously hurts his love interest through brushing off their genuine emotion as being a nice girl. Hikigaya tries to make himself feel that no girl is actually into him, and any evidence of the contrary is him reading too deep into something that isn't there. That feeling is something I can definitely relate to, and it's something I think most people watching can relate to as well. The whole not getting your hopes up at every nice gesture someone throws your way because past experiences have scarred us into putting up walls. And these walls only end up hurting the other characters in the show and pushing them away, forcing them to awkwardly interact until they can effectively communicate through their issues. If putting up walls and pushing people away wasn't enough, Hikigaya starts to solve other people's problems through self-sacrifice and making himself the object of everyone's contempt as the series progresses. He definitely does his fair share of helping others in need, but the way he so quickly turns to self-deprecating means really starts to wear on both Yui and Yukino, and this aspect is what makes the show so appealing. Hikigaya tries to create a world where nobody gets hurt except himself through sacrifice, typically at the expense of his image or relationships with the people around him, and he does so without the expectation that he'll get anything back in return. Contrary to what he might say throughout the series, he's genuinely a nice guy who would rather take on all the pain himself instead of watching others get hurt. The problem with his method is that aside from hurting himself, he still hurts Yukino and Yui, who both believe that it's wrong for him to be the only one getting the short end of the stick. That's what becomes the snafu. Hikigaya now has people who care for him and want to see him happy, but he's so used to being alone and despised that it becomes difficult for him to change his ways. This isn't just a show about comical situations with romance thrown in. It's a story about how love and new relationships can lead to growth, which isn't always easy or painless. Where some anime show the joy and bright side of a new relationship, Oregairu depicts that relationships take work, and that even when someone's intentions are in the right place, things don't always work out the way you'd hope. And this growth isn't exclusive to Hikigaya either. Yukino struggles to open up and make decisions on her own when it comes to emotions because she's never had to deal with these kinds of situations before. And Yui becomes more assertive and even manipulative to get what she wants, which is significantly different from the Yui in episode 1 where she lets other people dictate how she behaves. Change is the central theme in season 2, with both self-deception and superficiality as the obstacles preventing most of the cast from growing. The first example can be seen during the confession arc when Hayama refuses to help Tobe. When Hikigaya confronts him about it, Hayama explains that he's afraid of their group dynamic changing and that he would prefer to continue being friends with everyone, despite what Tobe wants. Hikigaya steps in and asks Ebina out right before Tobe gets a chance, knowing Tobe was about to get rejected. By stepping in and getting rejected for him, Hikigaya effectively saved their group dynamic, preventing any awkward interactions that may have followed. While Hayama may have gotten what he wanted, the root problem wasn't solved. Instead, he was content with lying to himself and keeping up the superficial atmosphere by pretending nothing happened. Hikigaya alluded to this scenario as having shallow friendships and weak relationships while confronting Hayama in Kyoto, and he was absolutely right. By avoiding their real problems, Hayama's group will never become close or develop a strong relationship. Instead, they choose to avoid any issues and keep up appearances. This fear for growth and change is natural because we all fear the unknown and would rather choose to cling on to what we understand and are comfortable with. Even though the superficial and self-deceiving charade is something Hikigaya has made abundantly clear he hates, he ends up going down that road after both Yukino and Yui express their displeasure at how he handled the Ebina confession. He decides to not address the real issue and asks them both to pretend like nothing happened so they could go back to normal, similar to how Hayama handled his group situation. As Hikigaya gets closer to Yukino and Yui, he becomes more and more afraid of losing them, leading to become what he despises most of all, a person who lies to themselves. Hikigaya straddles the line between not wanting to change who he is and realizing that if he wants to keep the people that matter most to him, he will have to grow and handle things differently. This inner conflict leads to the most emotional scene in the series where Hikigaya expresses how he truly feels. He's a person who helps others because he himself wants to be helped. He wants something real and genuine, but he's been pushing people away and remaining a loner because he's afraid of being hurt again, which is a sentiment that I find all too relatable. Oregairu does an excellent job of showing the synergy between fear and self-deception, while also highlighting the dichotomy between superficiality and growth. While I definitely enjoyed the typical upbeat romance anime, getting to watch a more realistic take on relationships in high school and the character development that follows it is a very enjoyable experience. Overall, this is one of my favorite romance anime, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Season 3 is sure to be one of my favorite spring anime in a season that is packed with highly anticipated releases. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you're notified of my newly uploaded videos. I'm new to this, so I appreciate your feedback and support. I hope you'll stay with me. I'll see you next week.